What up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. It's your guy, SumnSumnSumn. Hit the keys. And last week we did a video on the 7 worst purchases I've made with gear. So today is the follow-up video of that. We're going to talk about the 7 best purchases I've made. I've had a few studios in my time. This is the second one that I had. As you can see here, there's not much going on. But then we progressed and we took another step, and then it just continued to progress from there. And now you can see this is kind of the studio that I have now with a few additions. Make sure if you guys like this content though, you drop a whole elbow on that like button, hit subscribe and that notification bell so every time we bring you guys a new video, you can be the first to see. But let's go ahead and get right into this video. Some, hit the key. All right, guys, so as you guys can obviously see, I've had a ton of different gear throughout time. Don't judge any of these old school looking pictures. You know, I shot them before camera phone technology was very nice. But let's go ahead and get right into what's probably my favorite, my number one purchase that I've ever made with any kind of studio gear. And that was a Rode NT1000. I absolutely love that microphone. I love that microphone. But it's in a storage garage in Nebraska, halfway across the country. I probably should have brought it with me. I don't know why I didn't when I came to Atlanta. But without a shadow of a doubt, out of any purchase that I've ever made, that's one that I never regretted one day. I think the mic was like 430 bucks or something when I bought it like 10, 11 years ago. But it was like right out the box. The first time that I used that mic, I could tell it was so much different than any other mic that I ever used. It just made my voice sound amazing. I just love that microphone. I love that microphone so much that I ended up getting this Rode NT1 when I got to Atlanta. And I hadn't really listened to it much or heard much about the NT1, even though I know obviously it's a popular mic, but I hadn't heard it much. But I actually bought this mic used for $100. So I'll lump them in together. And so that's why I like when you guys see the videos and sometimes people think I'm recording backwards because the mic was built backwards. That's part of why I got it for $100. So I'll lump those two in together. And obviously I love both microphones. So this list isn't going to go in like best as in first to seventh. I'm just going to kind of talk about all of the different purchases that I think were my best purchases. So the next purchase that I do want to talk about is the Apollo Twin X Duo. I absolutely love that preamp. From the first time that I listened to that preamp, I can immediately tell a difference from my Steinberg UR22, which was also a pretty good interface. I had that interface for probably about a decade and it was serviceable and it did the job. But with the Apollo Twin, you can do so much with it. So it's got DSP, which is basically onboard processing for anybody who doesn't know. And you can actually run the plugins on the interface and it doesn't have any latency or anything like that. No lag when you're recording like a guitar or like if you're recording vocals in, you know how sometimes when you're recording into your DAW and you get that little bit of latency from the plugins and so on and so forth. You don't get any of that with the Apollo Twin because it's all being processed on board. And then the fact that you can use like emulations of different preamps, you know, like the Avalon 737 or like the Neves or the Manley Voxbox, or there's just a whole bunch of different preamps and effects that you can use all in DSP. And it's just wonderful. And then the headphone amp on that as well is nice. So it was like making the sound extra crisp. It's strong enough to power headphones, like it's strong enough to power my Barodynamic DT770s at full power without losing any sound quality or anything like that. So overall, I feel like that interface is very nice. Plus I'm getting a guitar and I think it's nice that I'm going to be able to play the guitar through that interface without having any latency as well. All right. And so the next piece of equipment that I want to talk about are these Vocal Pro wireless microphones. I absolutely love these wireless microphones. Basically they were a blessing. So with these microphones, I was in a group of people who threw shows. And in order to make the payment fair every single week for all the promoters and the people who threw the show together, there was 3 of us and everybody threw on a piece. So one person brought turntables, they were the DJ in the mix. The other person was another DJ, and they had their computer with all the music, and they would play the dance music to get the dance floor popping. And I was the host. So I brought the wireless microphones. These microphones were so great because they allowed me to not only have wireless microphones at shows, but when I was at home practicing, I could practice at full level in my house with the music blasting like I was at the show. I would have the microphones. I would know how I could sound. I know how to hold the microphone. I learned how to use them. It just made my performance so much better than it was before I had the wireless microphones. Plus, I used to rent the wireless microphones out. So I probably rented the microphones out at least 30 times. 30 times 50, obviously you can do the math there. So I paid for the microphones not only by renting them out, but also by the shows that I threw. I got to get on more shows. I got to do more stuff. It helped me learn so much different stuff about music. I got into places doing sound. I got into places being a promoter, a booking agent, all kinds of stuff. And it all started with me getting these wireless microphones and deciding to throw in and be part of this group that was throwing shows. So for me, those wireless microphones still work to this day. I've had them for 11 years now, and they still work to this day. So that's definitely one of my favorite investments. All right, and fourth on this list, you guys have been hearing me talk about them a lot lately, but I'm going to talk about them again. These Beyerdynamic DT900 Pro X's, these right here. I absolutely love these headphones. They're open back headphones. They just sound wonderful. They're only 45 ohms, so you can use them on anything. Out of every headphone that I've ever had, probably ever even used, these are the best sounding headphones that I have. I absolutely love them. I love these headphones so much that I have headphones that I can use in order to track, like when I'm recording videos. But if you guys notice, when I record videos, I still always wear these headphones because I love the way that they sound. So I would rather spend the time editing out the bleed of these headphones in the videos because I enjoy wearing them so much than putting on some other headphones that will work just as sufficiently and get the job done. The mixes that I've been creating in these sound wonderful. You guys are on stream with me a lot, so you guys can hear the mixes sound pretty decent for a soft mix online and streams, so on and so forth. So they are $300, but I would highly recommend them because, again, you're not going to need a headphone amp. They're open back, so you're going to get a better mix with them. You can use them for gaming. You can use them for casual listening. You can use them for mixing. You can use them for mastering. You just can't use them for tracking. But I can't stress enough, I absolutely love these headphones. All right, so the fifth thing that I want to talk about are these dusty old show speakers. You see them. Look at them. Look at them again. Yeah, these old school speakers were everything for me. I use these speakers to DJ weddings. I use them for shows. I use them for graduation parties. I use them to DJ birthday parties. I use them for a whole lot of stuff. I use them to practice show sets. We used them as they were box shaped, so you could set them on the floor. We used to use them as a stage, and we would practice our routine on that as we played other speakers blasting in the background. I use these speakers for so much stuff, and I got them for a steal of a deal. So I ended up getting the mids because they're mids and highs. So they're two different pairs. There's a pair of mids and a pair of highs. So I got the mids for 50 bucks and I got the highs for 25 bucks. And I swear to y'all, I use these speakers over 100 times. I use these speakers a lot. And they definitely paid for themselves at least tenfold. I mean, probably at least 30-fold. And with the speakers, I'm gonna throw something else in there with it. I got a cheap little PV amp, but the PV amp was super nice. It was so much nicer than it was supposed to be. So basically, I had a friend who was a DJ, and I didn't even know this dude was a DJ. He used to actually work for me, and he did computer tech. So in the last video, you heard me talk about a guy who put a firewire into my computer for me. It's this gentleman. And so when I was getting all my studio equipment and getting all my show stuff, he asked me if I needed an amp. And I was like, yeah, I kind of do need an amp. And I had this old busted Xbox 360, but it was broken. It had the red rings and it red ringed on me like 5 or 6 times. I had got it for cheap. I got it for like 75 bucks and I'd had it for 2 years. He traded me the amp for the Xbox 360, and I had a PlayStation, whatever, 3 or 4. I don't remember at the time. Maybe it was a 3. So basically that didn't cost me anything. So I got a whole entire show set up, like an amplifier and speakers for $75 the way that I look at it. And I can't stress enough, I used them for all kinds of stuff and I never got a complaint at all using them because it was high quality stuff. They were just old. And like we know, a lot of times that old stuff sounds better than that new stuff. So, it just paid off for me to get those speakers because I got a lot of opportunities to do wedding shows, all kinds of stuff with some cheap speakers. And up sixth, you guys have heard me talk about it. You might have seen the review, but I absolutely love this Arturia Keylab Essential 49. And I think I might love it so much because it came with Analog Labs V2, which is kind of a cheat code because I'm talking about gear, but that's part of the gear. And that's part of why this gear is so nice is that you can control Analog Labs seamlessly with the actual MIDI controller. So I've had a few different MIDI controllers. I've had a few different keyboards in my life, but I do like the feel of this MIDI keyboard the most. I like the way the keys feel. I've had a Kai um, controllers before MIDI controllers, but I like the pads on this Keylab more. I just like the way that they feel. I think that they're more comfortable. I just like the way that it looks, as it doesn't matter in the actual playing or it doing anything. I like the way that it lights up. I like the way that it looks. I like the white color of it. I just like the way that it sits in my studio. It's lightweight. It's easy to take with you if you need to. It syncs up to all the DAWs really easily. It syncs up to everything Arturia, even pigments, anything that you get Arturia, it's going to sync up to. I plan on getting a Micro Freak, and I know I can hook the Micro Freak up to this and use the keys on this, and then use all the oscillators and all the knobs and everything on the Micro Freak. So, I can't stress enough, this keyboard was definitely a nice investment for me because I've been playing the keys more lately. I've been getting it down a lot more, something, 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 hit the keys, but you don't be hitting the keys. So I'm trying to hit the keys. You already know what it is. I definitely like this MIDI controller. And the last thing on my list. So if you guys remember correctly, I told you guys that one of the biggest, if not the biggest, mistake or bad purchase that I made were some KRK Rocket 8s. Well, on the flip side, I did get a KRK basically sub. So I got the 10S, and the 10S was great. It was a great investment. I didn't even need it. It was overkill. Again, I didn't really realize how much I was struggling with the mixes using the 8s, and I didn't really need the 10S. But then the 10S became a heaven sent because it got to a point where now I'm taking the 10S out and I could actually use that as the base to go with those cheap speakers that I just told you about, those cheap old school box speakers that I was using. So I could take that and use that when I was going out and DJing weddings or parties or whatever it was, small venues that didn't have sound. That sub was serviceable and it would just pound. Plus, I could use it when I was practicing at home to help simulate real life situations. So it was a great piece for me to be able to rap because if you've ever done a show before, or if you haven't done a show before, if you've done a show, the volume that you rap at home or in the studio is not the volume that you rap at a show. So a lot of times in order to be able to get stamina, to be able to rap your whole set without having background vocals, is to be able to simulate that loudness and practice in that loudness. So maybe practice your set 2 or 3 times. And if you can do it 2 or 3 times, and you'll be able to perform it at the show. That's a pro tip for anybody who doesn't know. And if you didn't know, it is so much different. If you go to a show and you see that a rapper is struggling, that's the reason that they're struggling is because they don't practice at loud volumes. And so when they're rapping as loud as they possibly can, they're just not used to that. And their voice just can't hold up or their stamina can't hold up. So this little sub helped me out so much in my performing. And it made music sound so much better. And then I don't know if I said it, I believe I did, but I used it for surround sound stereo too as well. Cause I had like a little TV and everything in the studio area, a pool table and all that at one of the studios. So I use this as my surround sound subwoofer as well. And I'm going to give you guys a runner up, kind of a bonus one. And the reason I'm throwing this one in is because nothing in this bonus one would have made the list as the top item that it would have replaced. But to start off with my second studio, as you see here again, I got a little bundle, and the bundle was like $525. But in that bundle I got an Akai MPK49, which is the keyboard that I used for a while. And then I got an MXL mic. The MPK49 was like 420 bucks at the time. The MXL mic, the 990, was like 100 bucks at the time. I got the interface that was like 120 bucks that I complained about in the last video. That was one of the worst purchases, because basically one of the worst pieces of gear that I got because I didn't pay attention. It was Firewire, which forced me to get another interface in the future. And it came with some monitors, and I ended up gifting the monitors to my niece because she wanted to work on music. So that was like the gift that kept on giving. But basically that was like an $850, $900 that I was going to spend on equipment. And I believe it came with like Sonar Cakewalk, when Cakewalk used to be a paid plugin. So it was like a $200 or $300 DAW. I got all that for $525. And that kind of got the process going of me really making beats and starting to make beats again. So that was about 10, 11 years ago. And I had made beats before that, but I had kind of quit because I didn't have the right equipment to make beats. So that kind of kickstarted the beats going again. That kickstarted me back into FL Studio, because I actually went from Cakewalk to FL Studio. And that kind of kickstarted my whole process. So I wanted to bring that up, because if you're out there and you're looking to start a studio, or if you're looking for gear, you should always look to see if there's any kind of bundles that you can start with, because it might be more beneficial for you to spend maybe the $400, $500 in a bundle for a keyboard, an interface, some monitors, and whatever else, in order to get your studio jump started, instead of buying a piece at a time, a piece at a time, a piece at a time, and then you spent more money starting your studio than you needed to. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Make sure if you guys did like that content, drop a whole elbow on that like button, hit subscribe and that notification bell. Let me know below in the comments what your favorite piece of gear was that you may have bought. Appreciate you guys' time as always, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace. All right, guys and gals, thanks for watching the video. Make sure you hit the subscribe and like button. Make sure you hit that notification bell so every time a new video comes out, you can be the first to know. Let me know what tutorials you want to see next in the comments, and see you next time.
Some, hit the key.